Now, if you have a garden, you must grow tomatoes, and there's always lots of little ways that you can improve your tomato crop. But today, I think, is actually one of the most important, because it's a watering technique that's going to set your tomatoes up for true abundance throughout summer and into autumn. The best thing about this tip is that it can be applied to almost any plant in the garden, because the focus is actually on the root system. The root system is what sets up a plant for success. For example, these purple sprouting broccoli are so healthy and productive because they've got the root system there to support them. And rather than focusing on growing all these fresh green leaves, we need to actually focus on what's happening under the ground. What I want my plants to have is as deep of a root system as possible. The reason why is that it allows them to have more access to nutrients, more access to water as well during dry weather, and it also creates a stronger plant. It's almost like a skyscraper. A taller skyscraper needs that deeper foundation to help it withstand weather. So the trick to have a really healthy tomato plant and get loads of tomatoes is actually, when you transplant them, you want to encourage the roots to go searching downwards as soon as possible. The dead simple way to encourage the roots to go downwards, searching for moisture, is actually by not watering your tomatoes after transplanting them for at least a week, up to 10 days, because that is going to encourage them, once the water near the surface starts to evaporate, to actually go downwards and create that strong root system from the get-go. An important principle to know whenever it comes to growing food and watering is that if you do a shallow water, or if you water very regularly, what that does is it actually creates lazy plants, because all the water is on the surface, there's no need for the roots to go down. However, if you extend the periods between watering, or water deeply but once or twice a week, that is the single best thing that you can do to create a healthy plant. The other thing that we can't forget to mention is taste. And if the roots have a deeper, healthier root system, they have a better chance of mining or taking the trace elements and minerals that they need, and a plant that has that balanced nutrition is going to reward you with better taste. I'm now going to walk through the step-by-step of planting a tomato plant and then following this principle and process to encourage the roots to go down nice and deep. So the first thing that I do is I'm creating actually quite a deep hole here. It's definitely quite a bit deeper than the tomato, because what I'm actually going to do is plant the tomato down to just above the first set of kind of proper leaf. And I'm going to remove these lower leaves, because that's another way of creating deeper roots. You can actually plant tomatoes really, really deep, and then you're going to have the bottom roots and then the top roots. So once I've created the hole, which is deeper than the plant, I test it by placing it in the hole. I'm going to remove slightly more and then get a good healthy handful of compost, and then another one, a little bit extra, make a bit of space, and then give it a proper soaking, at least 7 to 10 seconds of water. So I'm just letting that drain down, and the reason why I've done this is that it's actually going to charge up the base of the raised bed with lots and lots of moisture, and because it's so far down, it's not going to evaporate, it's actually going to stay in there for a long time, and that's going to encourage the tomato roots down. So then all I'm going to do is turn it upside down, gentle tap. It's actually fairly dry, so it fell out perfectly. Make sure I'm happy with the hole. Then place it down to the desired depth. And then what you can do is you can put a little bit of compost around the sides and then refill slightly. Give it just a touch of water, maybe 3 seconds of quite a heavy load. 1, 2, 3. Let that soak in, and as it's soaking in, place the rest of the soil around it and start firming it down nicely, because you also want to make sure that the plant is firmed in, because if you think about it, even with support, when it's laden with tomatoes, it's going to be quite a heavy thing. So doing that initial firming process is going to help set those foundations, and then those deep roots are going to do the rest. I'm a big advocate of mulching tomatoes. However, don't do this in the first 7 to 10 days, because it's just going to keep the whole soil nice and moist, and it's going to discourage the roots from actually going down and searching for that water. However, afterwards you can either mulch with something like wool packaging, or one of my favourites is grass clippings to help maintain that constant moisture. The other thing that this will help prevent when the tomatoes are actually ripening is the fruits from splitting. Usually that happens after a lot of dry and then a sudden influx of water. Whereas if it's that constant balance, there's no worry of those fruits cracking and spoiling. Soon the polycrop is going to be full of tomato plants. Now, if it's your first time growing tomatoes, or you're looking for some particular tips, I made this video last year showing you 8 tips to get a better tomato harvest, and make sure you give it a watch before the season properly starts.